Alrighty. We're good to go.
Live.
Yes, sir.
All right, welcome back. We are now on episode 16 of Let Your Words Count, where we explore the meanings behind the words that shape our lives. Going in order to my left, we have no longer a guest, a staple with us in our show, Brother James. I'm Gary Gant, Ethan Merriweather here. And today's word, don't forget, like, share, comment, subscribe, and submit your words to us. We will review words you all submit. We will call your name out when we do. If you have anything you want to suggest that we cover. Today's word for episode 16 is the word placate. Placate. Okay. The definition of the word placate. Placate refers to the act of calming or appeasing someone who is angry, often by offering concessions, sympathy, or compromise. Okay. Placate refers to the act of calming or appeasing someone who is upset or angry, often by offering concessions, sympathy, or compromise. Ethan, do you have the etymology or word derivation or origin to discuss with us?
I sure do.
What do we have, sir?
So, the history on this word, placate, comes from the Latin word placare, meaning to please or to soothe. It was originally associated with appeasing the gods or deities, then evolved into the concept of soothing human emotions or conflicts. A little history here. Historical context. The concept of placating has been in various contexts throughout history, particularly in diplomacy, personal relationships, and leadership. Historically, placating has been used to resolve conflicts or maintain order, but it can also be used manipulatively to avoid difficult conversations or to control situations.
I love it.
Yep.
So I'm going to say right off the bat, right? Great word. This is one of those things where if it's a customer, somebody you have to have walk away satisfied, that's one thing. I have a difficulty within my own personality, that if it's somebody that is being manipulative or is constantly angry and using that to get their way, I almost 100% of the time will back out. Like, your anger has nothing to do with me. And I refuse to sit up here and act like I have to concede or have to give something to you to calm you down if that's your means of getting your way. So I'm going to contribute to the conversation, but again, for me, it has to kind of be in this context of like a customer or somebody who's not always angry. If you're always angry, it's not my responsibility to talk you off a ledge all the time. You know what I mean? So if there's something valid there, something meaningful, or a relationship you have to nurture and keep somebody happy for some reason, that's one thing. But you got to be careful not to just compromise with people that are always angry and always looking to use that as a reason to make people pander to them and comfort them all the time, right? So, and again, I'm sounding, I realize how callous that sounds even as it's coming out of my mouth. But again, it's just a caution, just not to be, another one of our words, not to be manipulated in placating someone, right? So I'll shut up.
No, you fine.
Yep. You guys have any thoughts on it?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things that come to mind, and it's the word enable.
Interesting.
And I was thinking about, do you enable that behavior of placating? You know? So, and it's very interesting. This is a very interesting word to me, because my job, I work in warranty. And wow. and I think that the way people view me sometimes would be probably a placater, but I've been conditioned for that because of my job.
That's also where you're in a situation where you're dealing with somebody who's habitually angry and blaming you for something.
Yeah.
So right. So that's what I'm saying. It's
yeah,
just
exactly.
If that's the nature of the relationship, my mental health is a concern at that point. You know what I mean?
You know what? And I'm glad you said that, because it actually says that in the in the description, right? About an unhealthy environment. If you're not careful and you don't know how to manage your thoughts, I think that you're placating you as being called a placater would be looked from the outside as a negative thing. But if it's your job, like you said, if it's your see, I don't even think I covered that yet, right? So at my job, I work in warranty, right? So that means that my background, my skill set, my duties are to appease the customer, regardless, right? Customer is king. That's what they used to say years ago, right? So in order for us to keep business, right, that means that I have to bring data that causes the customer to say, I still want to work with you as a supplier.
Wow. Yeah.
So my job is to go back to my plant and deliver a message. That doesn't make me feel very good. I'm just being honest.
I understand. Man.
There's deliverables.
Yes.
So when it comes to placating, you have to appease or soothe both sides in my position. You can, you know what I mean? Oh, go ahead.
I'm laughing because I'm realizing as you're talking the problem I have. You're calling me out, but in a good way, because this podcast is about learning about these words and self-reflection, and I'm realizing this is a word that I look at probably in a bad way because I probably lack the self-control that you do, right? Because you mentioned it, right? If you're going to be in a position where your job requires you to placate, it requires an amount of self-control so that you don't let the anger of the other party, again, affect your mental health, your stability, your well-being. And maybe I lack the self-control to be a good person, to be, in a position of placating. I can admit that maybe that's an area, not maybe, that's an area I have to grow in. You know what I mean? Because to be able to take that, to deal in that kind of situation and not just check out of the conversation or give up on somebody because that's how they enter it. You just have to have enough control over yourself to come into that situation the right way and to manage it. Right. So I'm shortcoming, right? I'm just mental note, something I got to work on. So, yep.
I guess I'm going to attack it from a different perspective. I'm going to throw some words out, and some of them were already used.
Okay.
Patience. Long suffering. Gentleness.
I'm getting smaller and smaller. No, go ahead.
Because when I think about the word placate, I'm envisioning a situation whereby the situation is ripe for conflict. Okay?
Interesting.
And so when the situation is ripe for conflict, now the next question is, are we looking to justify each side, where each side is trying to justify itself, or are we trying to achieve peace? Okay, or are we trying to achieve whatever it takes to get us from where we are to a better place? Okay, and so placating, there can be wisdom, and it's not that you're necessarily taking advantage of the person, but someone can be hot-headed, okay? Your example, I'm buying this stuff from you and, it don't work, so on and so forth, And sometimes that it could be the customer's fault.
Yep.
Sometimes the way the customer uses it, okay? But, of course, what you're trying to do is gain peace, okay? Or more specifically, what you're trying to do is get the person, talk them down off of the roof, so to speak, so that the anger goes away, so that they can hear sound words. And so sometimes to do that, you placate for a period of time. But your goal most likely your goal is not to leave them in the place where, okay, I'm not mad anymore, but I'm still right. Especially if they're not right.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah. Right.
You're trying to get them, the anger to go away, so that they can hear reasoning or sound words.
That's it.
And so that's how I look at the word
awesome. That's
placate. I try to look at it from that standpoint.
That's awesome.
And of course, most of us have been in situations, and of course, anyone who is married, you know that at some point, whether it's the husband or the wife, someone is placating for the moment. Okay. And you may circle back around, 10 minutes later, the next day, whatever the case may be.
Right.
When, as what's the saying, when calmer heads prevail.
Yes. Yes.
And so then now we can talk. But before, you recognize that maybe one person doesn't have the temperance or the self-control that the other has. And so that's why, going to scripture,
Right.
when Jesus, not Jesus, when Paul was talking about, I think it was the Corinthians, he's saying, you're going to law against each other and before the unbelievers. Why don't you just take wrong? Okay. Well, a lot of people don't want to do that.
It's true.
Because it's about who's right and who's wrong.
Right.
But sometimes we have to realize that right and wrong is not always the best thing to establish at that particular moment. Trying not to get all churchy and everything.
You're
but,
right.
I'm thinking about in the book of James, I think it's chapter 3, where it says, where there's envy and strife, there's confusion and every evil work. But then it goes on to say that but the seeds of righteousness are sown in peace in them that make peace. So when I'm thinking about placate, I'm thinking about trying to get us from where we are to where we need to be so that some good constructive conversation can take place.
I love that.
And in that, you still may have to correct that person.
Right. Right.
But when they were in that previous mindset, they weren't ready to receive correction. But then when you deal with them in such a way, talk them down, now they may be more willing to receive correction, and they may even thank you for it.
Yeah,
Love it.
yeah.
That's awesome.
I think placate is a mature word to use. I think that, but it has to be used in a non-manipulative way, right? If you use it properly, right? I think that's the whole idea, is using the word properly, right? Not the word. Use the action, because that's the thing. It's an action word. It's an actionable word, right? So as you were talking, I was thinking about compromise. And this is just like one of the words we probably need to hit on soon. Compromise sometimes can lean to more of a negative thing, but a negative action or response, right? But when you look at placating, and you're not really, you can say you're compromising, but you're not. Right, because what it is, like what you're trying to do, you're trying to achieve something. There's something that you're trying to achieve. You want to achieve peace. That's the key, right?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm jumping in, but as you were talking,
go ahead.
going back to the Bible again, I remember when Paul circumcised Timothy, and Paul knew that circumcision was nothing, as he would say, or he understood what it truly was, and not what the Jews understood it to be. But yet he went ahead and did it anyway. Why? Because he understood that if he hadn't done that, then the situation would have been such that they would not have received his words at all. And so we could say that he placated them by going along with their understanding, even though that he knew that their understanding was darkened or limited.
That's so true. And that gave and I think that what it is to me, when I look at that, that's the wisdom of Paul, because he considered both sides. Is about consideration and really understanding the impact of, put like this, he saw further down the road of what the potential can be. And I think that that's the key, is with placating is a compromise element in there, but also seeing the potential for the good further down the line, And I think that, and that's kind of what I'm saying, is more of a mature level, and that's what we want to do. We want to develop. We want to help one another be developed. So when we utilize these words, it's actually it manifests in our life. It becomes a part of us, right? So when I think about placating, and when I'm going back to my job again, I just want to speak on this for just a second. Is going back to what you're saying. It's like you see two opposing sides. Someone is angry. I've received a physical part bad. It's not according to drawing. It's not what you agreed to. How are you going to fix it? You know what I mean? And so being able to soothe both sides, because the plants are going to be angry too, right? Because they're going to have to put a lot of containment in place, a lot of things that they didn't consider that will be a part of their cost. They're losing money. They're putting actions in place that's not a part of what they quoted in the beginning. You see what I mean? So now how do you appease that? How do you soothe a person? What are the concessions that the plant is going to give to the customer to let them know that I am going to protect you. I'm going to protect you, right? So Ethan, you're going to have to deliver this message, right? You know what I'm saying? And that's how it is. Like your scorecard is red. What are you going to do about it, right?
Right.
I'm like, I didn't make the score. I didn't make the scorecard red. You know what I'm saying? It's like, but you're there to deliver a message.
Kill
right?
the messenger.
You're
Kill the messenger.
KIM, kill.
Right.
So, to me, I think that these are like the valuable conversations we need to talk about a little bit more, because I think even in the church settings, there are, because of beliefs, there are beliefs that are that we latch ourselves to a lot of the times, but we don't really fully grasp the full impact of those beliefs. And therefore, there's a lot of anger and strife within there. Going back to what you said, like I think in Galatians it talks about that you bite and devour yourself, but make sure you're not consumed of one another. You see what I'm saying? And I think that's what we do if we're not really led by the Spirit. And I think that's what we're talking about right here, is absolutely being led of the Spirit. So placating can actually have its work being done and accomplished, so peace can be the end result. That's what we want.
Right, and I believe we need to be mature enough to understand that peace has to be established.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it can go off the rails, so to speak, where each side is just basically trying to justify themselves.
Yes.
You know, because we've all been in situations, where we've heard someone, or maybe it was us, unfortunately, where when you find out you were wrong about a particular issue, instead of just accepting it, now you start explaining to the other person why you thought that you were right. So, yeah, I'm accepting it, but I was right because this is what I was thinking. Okay? If we have people whose goal is just not to be exposed as being wrong, or sometimes we just get it in our cross, so to speak, that when someone else is wrong, we got to show them that they're
Very
wrong.
true.
Okay? Yeah. And so while you may be factual in what you're saying, you may have lost that person. Okay? Because so if you placate someone by saying, yeah, man, okay, yeah, whatever you say, right, okay, yeah, you done? Okay. And then you separate. Now you've separated from that person, but what grounds?
Agreed.
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 If this was someone where you're going to have a relationship with again, then you would really want to be mindful of how you interact with that person. And not saying that anyone should be a throwaway person at all. I'm never going to see this guy again anyway, so I can treat them. No. Right. Because we never know what opportunity we're going to have. We never know what effect we have on someone. I love one of the songs it was commissioned, I think it was. You say, for you may never know all the people you have touched. You may never know all the people we have reached. But Lord, we know that you know. So even if you figure you never see this person again in your life, still.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
right. That's awesome. And we have a comment here in the chat too about approaching these things in a non-accusatory way. And I think that
Very
is
good.
the other side of what you brought up, right? Somebody can come into, if you're one of the parties involved, you can come into it self-justifying, right? Or you can come into it accusatory of the other party, right? And neither one of those approaches is going to bring peace or help resolve the situation.
It might make you feel good.
That's right. But at what cost? Like
At
you
what
said.
cost?
Yeah,
At what
that's right.
cost?
That's
See,
right.
that's very good, because the more you does being angry benefit you? You know what I'm saying? Like, how long do you want to be angry? How long do you want to have? I'm I'm trying to find the right phraseology or whatnot. But I was thinking about a person that has to placate, right? Let's say with good intentions, not a manipulative heart, right? But with the good intentions to mend. You know a placater is like a seam on jeans. He's mending two sides together.
Okay.
So they,
Interesting.
you know what I mean? That's kind of like how I look at a placater. If a placater is doing it right, he's like a seam or a zipper. He's binding two sides back together so they can work properly together. If a placater is manipulative, then that seam is going to have a incision in it, and you know what happens with seams that have an incision in it. It's going to break off over time.
Okay.
So if that placater has a manipulative or a ulterior motive, then that piece is not going to be achieved in very long. You know what I'm saying? Because you might have some type of, your intentions wasn't correct. That's kind of what I was saying, right? When you look at it from a mature standpoint, going back to what you're saying, I really believe that if you can get that person to calm down and look at their actions and ask, why are you mad? Is it benefiting you right now, right? How long do you want to hold on to this anger? How long do you want to feel validated for being angry? How long do you want to be justified in your anger? You know what I mean? That is proper placating to me. When you're able to soothe and allow someone to consider actions. When you know what I mean? That's kind of the thought that I had as you were talking. It's like, slow down. Yeah, and I love that what Bishop Young. Slow down.
Slow down.
Slow down. You're thinking too much. You slow down. And I think that's kind of what a placater should, properly placating. Placating is such a funny sounding word to me anyway, man. Man, you placating, man. You know what I'm saying? But I think that is a value to it. I think it's value.
If you do it in wisdom, it's really not a weakness. It's actually a strength.
It really is.
Even though it may be seen initially as a weakness because you're giving in. You're allowing the person to vent. You're allowing the person to, but you know the goal. You know what you're really trying to achieve. And when that goal is just, once again, because when because your point about angry, we all know the scripture says be angry and sin not. And people I believe we misunderstand that and thinking it's okay to be angry just so I don't sin. But that's not what it means. Right. It's actually, my understanding is actually a warning that when you allow yourself to get to that point, you are ripe for the enemy to deal with your mind.
I love it.
And so if you're wise enough to see that, then to be angry, be ye angry, but sin not, I take it as when you recognize that you're getting to that point where anger is starting to rise up, check yourself.
Yes.
Love it.
I love that.
Check yourself.
I love it.
And if the person that you're dealing with isn't there yet, then you're using wisdom on their behalf, because the scripture also talks about pulling someone out of the fire. That's what you're really trying to do.
I love that.
They don't see it yet, but because you see it, now you're actually trying to save them, even though they think, hey, I got the floor here, I got the upper hand here. But really, you're just using wisdom to finally get them to the point where now peace can work its perfect work.
Man, that's awesome.
I love it. That's good. And I think, too, just as you all were talking, taking somebody that has anger about some situation and helping them to, because, again, we're human, right? Emotions are going to happen, good and bad. But it can be a skill to help a person that has some emotion or feeling that's not benefiting and not profiting them, and show them readjust, reapproach, redirect that energy, right, towards something that's profitable, instead of being angry and my brothers helped me with that a lot. Instead of being angry about something, right, then to try to find ways to redirect and refocus that energy towards something that can profit you, because anger is not going to be it.
Yeah.
Right, because a person that's angry still may have valid points.
Sure,
Yeah, absolutely.
sure, exactly.
Definitely, they may have valid points.
Sure.
But that anger can overcome them, and then now you're not as sound as you would be if you were able to calm down.
Absolutely right.
Yeah.
Absolutely right.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that it is imperative for us to check, like you said, check our emotions, because like, what is it that you want to be at the end of all of this, right? You know what I mean? At the end of the day, like I remember guys at the job would get so angry, at one another, and then they say, "Let's go get some food." You know what I'm saying?
right.
And some folks can't handle that. They're like, "I'm never going to lunch." You know what I'm saying? It's kind of hard for them to separate the event that caused the disruption to, okay, it's over now. Let's go.
They take it personally when they should.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
And that's one thing. If y'all know me very well, I don't take things personal, right? Well, at least I try not to. That's once again, that's that absolute, right? I try my best not to take things personal, right? So I try to. I love what you said a long time ago about assuming the good, and that's what we have to do. We have to assume the good in people, even if you find yourself smack dab in the middle of a situation, to mend two sides or whatnot. Assume the good, just like what you said, James, about hey, the person can rightly so be correct in their anger. You know what I'm saying? But the whole idea is you don't want them to get to a point where that anger is going to violate the laws of God, so to speak, right? You know, the whole idea is to draw that person back and see, that's where there's a safety. There's a safety net there, right? When a person, you got to have a cool head there,
Right.
You got to have a cool. I choose to be the cool head every time. I choose to be the cool head. Now, every once in a while, I do fly off. I think I do.
Right.
But for the most,
You're human, though,
for the
yeah.
most part,
Right.
remembering.
Yeah.
There's a memory.
Yeah.
There's a memory of how you desire to be, or the outcome that you want that outcome to look like. I can't even find the right words
I understand.
right now. But
I understand
anyway.
what you're saying.
Yeah.
We got a chat comment here too about anger can be a warning sign, right? So understanding that if anger is there,
Absolutely.
there's a potential, for something to fix or to address to help in placating that. So, any final thoughts you brothers have as far as how to wrap up for today?
I just say, if you're in a situation where placating is necessary, let wisdom rule, and
Awesome.
make sure that you are always in control of your own emotions.
Awesome.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yep. And I'm gonna leave my note here is really find out who you are in those moments, because sometimes those moments don't arise, and you're gonna become something else when you're challenged in that area, right? You know what I mean? And really, really understand what the potential outcome will be by really evaluating what is going on. You know what I'm saying? I don't think we take the time and kind of take a step back and envision knowing what the potential outcome could be, after a decision or choice is being made, like within the midst of placating, right? There's a wrong way to placate and there's a good way to placate. What do you want to do? But that's about it for me.
That's awesome.
Yep.
All right. Well, I think that will wrap us up for today. Please, our viewers, please remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Submit words to us in the chat. Send us something if you think there's a word we should review. We will review that word and call you out and give you a thanks for contributing to the channel. So, again, thank you all for joining us today. We love you.